Huge changes are imminent for the Houston Rockets after a devastating Game 7 loss to the Golden State Warriors last night. And in this video, we are going to talk about three most important things that the Houston Rockets GM Rafael Stone, head coach Ime Udoka, all those guys in the front office are going to have to address this upcoming off season. Hello, everybody. I am Donovan Ricondo. I'm your host of 4 Rockets Digest, where we break down all the latest news, rumors, updates regarding your H-Town team. And things are not so bright if you're a Houston Rockets fan this morning. Last night, the Houston Rockets fall to the Golden State Warriors 103-89, marking the end of their season. It was a very devastating Game 7 loss. Definitely not the way we want it to pan out. Nonetheless, kudos to the Golden State Warriors and the hard-fought matchup between them. It was very entertaining to watch. It was a good test first-round series if you're a Rockets fan who have not seen this in 5 years, and so it was great to be in the matchup. Of course, we wish things did not go the way they did. Nevertheless, kudos to them. But let's talk about the Houston Rockets and what exactly they need to address come the offseason. Here are the quick box score stats. I don't want to spend too much time on the stats necessarily, but I do want to point out that everyone last night in the minus, not our best game. Our main struggles definitely were on the offensive end, as you can see there from our field goal percentages, both overall field goals, 3-point free throws. Our 3-point percentage last night was a 33.3%, which honestly should probably be a little bit lower if you discount the 2 threes that we had made in garbage time. So definitely not where you want to be, making 6 3-pointers in a Game 7 playoff game. And again, we had like 2 in the last 2 minutes. So it was really 4 throughout the entire game, and that is definitely not something that you want to have in a playoff game. And we'll address more about the shooting later on in this video. But not our best game from our guys. And so what exactly are the things that we are going to have to address this offseason? Well, the first thing, and it was talked about last night in the press game conference with Coach Ime Udoka and Fred VanVleet, and that is the fact that Fred VanVleet has a player option, team player option, whether the Houston Rockets can decide what to do with his contract. Should they pick him up for another year, have him on the team, or should they let him go and have him play basketball, continue his career elsewhere? Currently, Fred VanVleet is on a $130 million deal with Houston that he signed 2 seasons ago. It's a 3-year contract, so this next year would be his 3rd and final year of that contract. It is worth $44.9 million. That is a hefty price for a guard like Fred VanVleet. And whether or not he is worth that, we'll talk about in just 1 second, but that is what his contract looks like. In his 2 seasons as a guard for this team, he has averaged 15.9 points per game, round that up to 16, 6.9 assists, round that up to 7. So he's averaging 16 points, 7 assists. And throughout this series, quite frankly, he was the reason why we won at least 2 of those games. He absolutely went off, proved why he is the veteran that has won a championship before, and why he is a valuable asset to have in this series. The only real downside from this season was he was hurt for about a month or so, and that definitely was a setback. And he's 30 years old. He's not old, but he's not young. He's kind of right in the middle, the median age of an NBA player, so to speak. And Coach Ime Udoka talked about his future just last night. He said, "I think both sides want to be here and want him here. From day one, I've talked about the importance of him at the point guard position, leading us in a lot of ways. Obviously, I'd love to have him back, and I think the feeling is mutual." And the feeling seems to be mutual. As we go to what Fred VanVleet said about the situation last night, too, he said, "This is where I want to be. It's definitely a family situation. I got a lot of love for our coaching staff, Rafael Stone, the Fertitta family, what we set out to do when I had my free agent meeting 2 years ago, and we're on that track. It was never a short-term vision. It was a long-term goal. We're on track. We're on schedule." Now, I think this is a good insight into what the perspective of this team has been and where it will continue to be. This is a team that definitely overachieved, and signing a guard like Fred VanVleet was meant to put you in a better position. And quite frankly, along with guys like Şengün, Thompson, uh, they have put this team in a better position. A second seed in the Western Conference, very hard to do. Of course, not many games separated a 2 seed from a 7 seed. There's only a 4 game difference, but still, to put them in a position like he was able to run the offense the way that he was able to, not the best at times, but when it really mattered most, he came through. He was able to put on, so when Jalen Green failed to show up, he was able to take that spot and put the team on his shoulders offensively and get us 2 wins in this series. And so I think from a GM culture standpoint, both sides kind of see this as being on track, and nothing, I don't believe, has happened to for them to firmly believe that, hey, what we're doing isn't worth our time. Again, you got yourself into position to be a second seed. Fred VanVleet proved himself in this playoff series. And so if you ask me, I feel like this team will pick up his player option. I think I don't want to say it's a necessity, but I have seen nothing really to indicate that why we wouldn't. The only thing that would, of course, change this is what free agency looks like, what kind of trades come our way. Of course, that might change things, but from what we've seen so far, both sides seem to be pretty happy about what is transpiring and him being worth the contract that he is. Again, long term rather than short. We are only 2 years after his signing. There's an entire year to indicate whether or not we continue to have him past his 3rd year. And so, if you ask me, Fred VanVleet would probably be a Houston Rocket next season. In terms of who might not be a Houston Rocket next season, there's Jalen Green, who, as we all know, was our leading scorer all season. Absolutely phenomenal. The guy we drafted 4 years ago who has proven to get better every single year. With the intention of this man becoming becoming our primary scorer, being our main offensive threat, being basically what Fred VanVleet was those 2 games that he absolutely went off. These are his stats. I've already said he is the leading scorer, 21 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. I feel like I kind of memorized these stats. I mean, we keep pulling up Jalen Green stats throughout these playoff series. But here are some additional stats that, quite frankly, don't give the best representation of Jalen Green's game. Throughout this playoff series against a Golden State Warriors team that, yes, has a fantastic defense, and I get it's his first playoff series, but these stats are not what you wanted. Not what you wanted from the guy that you invested in 4 years ago and to lead up to this moment. 13.3 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, 2.9 assists against the Warriors. You see a lot of single-digit points in these games throughout the series. You see 7, 9, 8, 8, and you have 11 and 12. Game 2 really and truly was the outlier of this. If Game 2 Jalen Green showed up more often, we would not be having this conversation. You would not see guys like Stephen A. Smith going absolutely bonkers on ESPN. But Jalen Green failed to show up, and it wasn't like he had one bad game. It was throughout this entire playoffs of the 2025 postseason, he has been the player that has underwhelmed the most. And this is bigger than just having a bad series. This, to me, is an indication of where his head is at, the type of pressure that comes with the series and all those things. And so I definitely do believe that, trading a guy like Jalen Green is on the table. Again, I will say, I can see a future where, we invest in Jalen Green and we continue to make things work out with him. But him being traded is, again, on the table. Absolutely on the table. Because you cannot have the guy that has been your leading scorer all year fail to show up. That is something you cannot have in the NBA. Absolutely not. Because not only did he fail to show up, he failed to even wake up out of bed. He was not there. Absolutely not there. 8 points? 8 points? He had 8 points in 3 of these games. Unacceptable. Not what you want from your number one scorer all season. And he pointed this out. He's not, immune to it. He knows. He said last night, I gotta be better. First playoffs isn't an excuse. If we do decide to keep Jalen Green, for whatever reason, right? I do believe that, this is going to be a question all year. I certainly hope if we keep him that this is kind of the motivating factor, the fire, that the motivation he will have all next season. But GM Rafael Stone has a big decision to make. And from what we saw in this past series, Jalen Green did not really give a reason as to why we should not trade him. All you had to do was kind of play well enough to not have us have that thought in the back of our head. But he didn't. He played so below the standard that now that's completely on the table. And so that is a big decision this team must make. Another decision to make, our shooting percentages were not fantastic at all. Getting a guy like Gary Clark or Sam Merrill, Grayson Allen, any kind of shooter that we can rely on for this team. Having a deep 3-point perimeter offensive threat, at least two guys that can, really help spread the floor and get us key quality shots. Because again, 6 3-pointers in a game 7, which was, in my opinion, really 4 before those last 2 minutes, is not going to cut it. That is something that this team is going to have to focus on. We need shooters. We absolutely need shooters. That was in the paint. We are fantastic. But if you took out the paint, unless it was probably like Jabari Smith shooting that 3-pointer or Fred VanVleet at times, I really had no faith in terms of that shot being the quality shot that we wanted in that possession. So getting shooters should be crucial for this team in the offseason, and something that this team, it's not a surprise. This team knows they need shooters, and so that must be the key thing that they must do. And real quickly, before I go, Amin Thompson, Alperen Şengün have proven that they are key cornerstones to this team for years to come. They proved it in this series. Amin Thompson defensively, Şengün defensively, who has gotten better defense as a defensive player, proving that he can be a quality player for this franchise. Both of them offensively, they both showed up. Şengün being our number one scorer this series. Fantastic series from these two guys. I'm absolutely proud of them. Again, not the result that we wanted in this series, but those 3 things are what the front office needs to focus on. Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, and acquiring shooters. And with that, if you've made it to the end of the video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button below if you want to stay in the loop of all your Rockets content throughout the off season. Again, not the result we wanted, but I'm sure after all these things, after this off season, after the draft, possible trades, the Houston Rockets will come back next year stronger than ever. We got more videos for y'all all off season. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button. I've been Donovan Ricondo. Have a pleasant